This is not a drill. This is not a test. We are completing Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets today. I told y'all we going to read these last three chapters, okay? We about to finish strong. It don't matter that I just got off work and I'm tired and I'm hungry. Got my coconut water for hydration. And baby, we about to get to it, okay? I should have got me a straw. That's going to mess up my lip gloss. Oh, well, it don't matter. Hi, my name is Mashawn. If you are new here, the book club originally, unofficially, but it was birthed through me reading all 193 issues of the Walking Dead comics. Yes, I read all one, two, three, four of these compendiums. And here's Negan. We still need to read Negan Lives, which I can't believe I forgot. It's random. You know, I got it all right here. Negan Lives. How did I forget to read this little thin thing? Like, look how little it is. I don't know how we didn't get to hear Negan Lives. But that's a conversation for another day. Ooh, I should do that around the time Dead City come out. Because, you know, we about to be back in our Walking Dead energy real soon. I'm always in it. But, you know, as far as like having a live TV show. Anyway, that was how the Talking TV book club was birthed. And ever since then, I'm like, okay. Anything that I feel the need to read the source material of, I got to do it. Especially, obviously, if I'm reacting to it. All of my reactions to the Harry Potter movies are here on YouTube. All 8 of them. Now, my website, all my full uncut reactions are on there, and on there I did Return to Hogwarts. I did that too. What else I want to say before we get started? I already been running my mouth for 2 minutes. I ain't really got nothing else to say. I don't know what chapter we on, but I just remember from last week I'm literally recording this on Monday, by the way. What time is it? Okay, I turned my phone off so I wouldn't get disturbed while I'm reading. But anyway, I don't know what time it is, but I'm literally recording this today, Monday, to get this up because I am committed. I told y'all we doing book club every Monday, Game of Thrones every Saturday. Like, look at me being consistent on YouTube. Love that. All right, turns out we are on chapter 16. Oh my God. Y'all, look at the title of this chapter. Look at this. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, chapter 16, the Chamber of Secrets. Also, if you're new here, this ain't no read through. If you want to read through, go on Audible and pay for it. Okay? They got audiobooks. No, this is book club. We're reading this for the first time. We kikiing, we hee-heeing and ha-haing. We Googling shit. Okay, anyway, felt the need to say that. Now let's get to it. All those times we were in that bathroom and she was just 3 toilets away, said Ron bitterly at breakfast the next day. And we could have asked her. And now? It had been hard enough trying to look for spiders. Escaping their teachers long enough to sneak into a girl's bathroom, the girl's bathroom, moreover, right next to the scene of the first attack, was going to be almost impossible. But something happened in their first lesson, transfiguration, that drove the Chamber of Secrets out of their minds for the first time in weeks. 10 minutes into the class, Professor McGonagall told them that their exams would start on the 1st of June, 1 week from today. Jesus Christ, a test? Let me take a hit of water for that, because imagine being notified of an exam a week before and you already got a lot on your mind. That's nasty work. Exams? Howled Seamus Finnegan. We're still getting exams? There was a loud bang behind Harry as Neville Longbottom's wand slipped, vanishing into one of the legs on his desk. Professor McGonagall restored it with a wave of her wand and turned frowning to Seamus. The whole point of keeping the school open at this time is for you to receive your education, she said sternly. The exams will therefore take place as usual, and I trust you are all studying hard. I mean, well, we know that's Hermione's thing, studying, not the boys, not as much as her. Studying hard. It had never occurred to Harry that there would be exams with the castle in this state. There would be a great deal of mutinous muttering. Mutinous, like a mutiny. Okay. There was a great deal of mutinous muttering around the room, which made Professor McGonagall scowl even more darkly. Professor Dumbledore's instructions were to keep school running as normally as possible, she said. And that, I hardly need to point out, means finding out how much you have learned this year. Harry looked down at the pair of white rabbits he was supposed to be turning into slippers. Oh, that's a little cute spell for kids. That's cute. What he had learned so far this year? He couldn't seem to think of anything that would be useful in an exam. Ron looked as though he'd just been told he had to go and live in the Forbidden Forest. Can you imagine me taking exams with this? He asked Harry, holding up his wand, which had just started whistling loudly. 3 days before their first exam, Professor McGonagall made another announcement at breakfast. I have good news, she said, and the great hall, instead of falling silent, erupted. Dumbledore's coming back. Several people yelled joyfully. You've got the heir of Slytherin, squealed the girl at Ravenclaw table. Quidditch matches are back, roared Wood excitedly. When the hubbub, obviously I've heard people say that in real life, but I've never seen it spelled out. It's literally spelled Hubbubb. I love that. That's hilarious. When the hubbub had subsided, Professor McGonagall said, Professor Sprout has informed me that the mandrakes are ready for cutting at last. Tonight, we will be able to revive those people who had been petrified. I need hardly remind you all that one of them made me way bit. I'm reading too fast. Calm down. I just got real excited reading. Calm down. I'm really excited. Clearly, I'm enjoying these books, okay? I need hardly remind you all that one of them may well be able to tell us who or what attacked them. I am hopeful that this dreadful year will end with our catching the culprit. There was an explosion of cheering. Also, because, baby, you know we need to get Hermione. I watch my reaction to the Chamber of Secrets when Hermione was petrified. I was so mad. I was like, absolutely the fuck not. It was crazy because I just didn't see it coming. There was an explosion of cheering. Harry looked over at the Slytherin table and wasn't at all surprised to see that Draco Malfoy hadn't joined in. Ron, however, was looking happier than he'd looked in days. It won't matter that we never asked Myrtle then, he said to Harry. Hermione will probably have all the answers when they wake her up. Mind you, she'll go crazy when she finds out we've got exams in 3 days' time. She hasn't studied. It might be kinder to leave her where she is until they're over. Okay, because, baby, y'all know Hermione about to be stressed. Their exams while I was petrified? Just then, Ginny Weasley came over and sat down next to Ron. She looked tense and nervous, and Harry noticed that her hands were twisting in her lap. What's up? Said Ron, helping himself to more porridge. Ginny didn't say anything, but glanced up and down at the Gryffindor table with a scared look on her face. That reminded Harry of someone, though he couldn't think who. Spit it out, said Ron, watching her. Harry suddenly realized who Ginny looked like. She was rocking backward and forward slightly in her chair, exactly like Dobby did when he was teetering on the edge of revealing forbidden information. Okay, before I turn this page, Ginny did something in the movies, but I actually don't remember what it is, being as though I only recorded my reaction video, so I haven't rewatched the movie since then, so I actually don't know. This is about to be a surprise to me, too. I've got to tell you something, Ginny mumbled carefully, not looking at Harry. What is it? Said Harry. Ginny looked as though she couldn't find the right words. What? Said Ron. Ginny opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Harry leaned forward and spoke quietly so that only Ginny and Ron could hear him. Is it something about the Chamber of Secrets? Have you seen something? Someone acting oddly? Ginny drew a deep breath, and at that precise moment, Percy Weasley appeared, looking tired and... Percy, we was just about to get to information. God damn it. Looking tired and wan. I have never seen that word, W-A-N. Let us Google, children. Hold on, let's see if I can get my phone to work. Also, y'all, I need a new phone. It's like a whole thing. My phone been acting real stupid. Let me see if I can Google this word. Looking tired and wan. Obviously, the word won't be far off from that, but I've just never seen that word before. So let's Google. Wan. Of a person's complexion or appearance, pale and giving the impression of illness or exhaustion. Ooh. I like that, wan. If you finished eating, I'll take that seat, Jenny. I'm starving. I've only just come off patrol duty. Jenny jumped up as though her chair had just been electrified, gave Percy a fleeting, frightening look, and scampered away. Percy sat down and grabbed a mug from the center of the table. "Percy," said Ron angrily. "She was just about to tell us something important." Halfway through a gulp of tea, Percy choked. "What sort of thing?" he said, coughing. "I just asked her if she'd seen anything odd, and she started to say, 'Oh, that's nothing to do with the Chamber of Secrets,'" said Percy at once. "How do you know?" said Ron, his eyebrows raised. "Well, if you must know, Jenny walked in on me the other day when I was... Well, never mind. The point is, she spotted me doing something, and I asked her not to mention it to anybody. I must say, I did think she'd keep her word. It's nothing really. I just rather..." Harry had never seen Percy look so uncomfortable. "What were you doing, Percy?" said Ron, grinning. "Go on, tell us. We won't laugh." Percy didn't smile back. "Pass me those rolls, Harry. I'm starving." Harry knew the whole mystery might be solved tomorrow without their help, but he wasn't about to pass up a chance to speak to Myrtle if it turned up. And to his delight, it did. Mid-morning, when they were being led to the history of magic by Gilderoy Lockhart, who had so often assured them that all the danger had passed, only to be proved wrong right away, was now wholeheartedly convinced that it was hardly worth the trouble to see them safely down the corridors. His hair wasn't as sleek as usual. It seemed he had been up most of the night, patrolling the fourth floor. "Mark my words," he said, ushering them around the corner. "The first words out of those poor petrified people's mouths will be, 'It was Hagrid.'" Now, y'all know, from the moment I ever first saw Hagrid on screen, he been Unc. And what we not about to do is throw dirt on his name. That's all I got to say about that right now. I'm not going to go on a Hagrid rant. Frankly, I'm astounded Professor McGonagall thinks all these security measures are necessary. "I agree, sir," said Harry, making Ron drop his books in surprise. "Thank you, Harry," said Lockhart graciously while they waited for a long line of Hufflepuffs to pass. "I mean, we teachers have quite enough to be getting on with without walking students to classes and standing guard all night." "That's right," said Ron, catching on. "Why don't you just leave us, sir? We've only got one more corridor to go." "You know, Weasley, I think I will," said Lockhart. "I really should go and prepare my next class." And he hurried off. Fuck yeah. It's so easy to get rid of Lockhart. I love that for us. I really do. I don't even know why I keep putting the top on my water. That's just making noise in the microphone. I'm going to not put the top back on it. "Prepare his class?" Ron sneered after him. "Gone to curl his hair more like." "Okay, because you know he don't like not being put together." They let the rest of the Gryffindor draw ahead of them, then darted down a side passage and hurried off toward Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. But just as they were congratulating each other on their brilliant scheme, "Potter! Weasley! What are you doing?" It was Professor McGonagall, and her mouth was thinnest of the thin lines. We were," Ron stammered. "We were going to go see Hermione," said Harry. Ron and Professor McGonagall both looked at him. "We haven't seen her for ages, Professor," Harry went on hurriedly, treading on Ron's foot. "And we thought we'd sneak into the hospital wing, to tell her the mandrakes are nearly ready and not to worry." Professor McGonagall was still staring at him, and for a moment Harry thought she was going to explode. But when she spoke, it was in a strangely croaky voice. "Of course," she said, and Harry, amazed, saw a tear glistening in her beady eye. McGonagall, I'll cry right now. Stop it. "Of course. I realize this has all been the hardest on the friends of those who have been... I quite understand. Yes, Potter. Of course you may visit Miss Granger. I will inform Professor Binns you've been gone. Tell Madame Pomfrey I've given my permission." Oh my God. I mean, you already know I love McGonagall. Hagrid is Unc, and literally Dumbledore and McGonagall is Grandma and Granddaddy. Quite literally. Harry and Ron walked away, hardly daring to believe that they'd been avoided detention. As they turned the corner, they distinctly heard Professor McGonagall blow her nose. "That," Ron said fervently, "was the best story you've ever come up with." Baby, not only did McGonagall buy it, she shed a tear. Mm, mm, mm. I love McGonagall and Dumbledore so much, y'all. Y'all hear my stomach making noise. I need to be eating. I'm going to eat as soon as I'm done recording book club. It's okay. They had no choice now but to go to the hospital wing and tell Madame Pomfrey that they had Professor McGonagall's permission to visit Hermione. Madame Pomfrey let them in, but reluctantly. There's just no point talking to a petrified person, she said, and they had to admit she had a point when they'd taken their seats next to Hermione. It was plain that Hermione didn't have the faintest inkling that she had visitors, and they might just as well tell her bedside cabinet not to worry for all the good it would do. Wonder if she did see the attacker, though, said Ron, looking sad at Hermione's rigid face, because if he sneaked up on them all, no one will ever know. But Harry wasn't looking at Hermione's face. He was more interested in her right hand. It lay clenched on top of her blankets, and bending closer, he saw that a piece of paper was crunched in her fist. Oh my God, y'all, we might get some information. Okay. Making sure that Madame Pomfrey was nowhere near, he pointed this out to Ron. Try and get it out, Ron whispered, shifting his chair so that he could block Harry from Madame Pomfrey's view. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. If my friend was in that petrified, I'd still go talk to her. I'd be like, girl, you don't know, she might be able to hear you in there. It was no easy task. Hermione's hand was clamped so tightly around the paper that Harry was sure he was going to tear it, while Ron kept what he tugged and twisted, and at last, after several tense minutes, the paper came free. It was a page torn from a very old library book. Harry smoothed it out eagerly, and Ron leaned in close to read it too. Of the many fearsome beasts and monsters that roam our land, there is no more curious or more deadly than the basilisk, known also as the king of serpents. This snake, which may reach gigantic size and live many hundreds of years, is born from a chicken's egg, hatched beneath a toad. Its methods of killing are most wondrous. Far aside from its deadly and venomous fangs, the basilisk has a murderous stare, and all who are fixed with the beam of its eye shall suffer instant death. Spiders flee before the basilisk, for it is their mortal enemy, and the basilisk flees only from the crowing of the rooster, which is fatal to it. Oh my God, that big ass fucking snake, scary. But all we need is a rooster. I'm sure we can get a rooster, y'all. All we need is a little cock-a-doodle-doo. Now that I can work with. That's crazy. The basilisk. I do remember the basilisk in one of the earlier Harry Potter movies, but obviously I mostly remember it in the end when Neville slayed that motherfucker with the Gryffindor sword, baby. Y'all know I was hollering, okay? So that's I mostly remember the basilisk from that. And beneath this, a single word had been written in a hand Harry recognized as Hermione. Pipes. So they gotta go down there. Ooh, this is scary. Okay, y'all, this shit is scary. It was as though somebody had just flicked a light on in his brain. Ron, he breathed. This is it. This is the answer. The monster in the chambers. Look at God. They was going to go ask Myrtle what was going on. McGonagall caught them on the way to go see Myrtle. They made up the story. They about to go see Hermione. They went to see Hermione and got the answer. The answer we all needed. Look at God. The monster in the chambers, a basilisk, a giant serpent. That's why I've been hearing that voice all over the place and nobody else has heard it. It's because I understand parcel tongue. Harry looked up at the beds around him. The basilisk kills people by looking at them, but no one's died because no one's looked it straight in the eye. Colin saw it through his camera. The basilisk burned up all the film inside it, but Colin just got petrified. Justin must have seen the basilisk through nearly headless Nick. Nick got the full blast of it, but he couldn't die again. And Hermione and that Ravenclaw prefect were found with a mirror next to them. Hermione had just realized the monster was a basilisk. I bet you anything she warned the first person that she met to look around the corners with the mirror first. And that girl pulled out her mirror, and Ron's jaw had dropped. And Mrs. Norris? He whispered eagerly. Harry thought hard, picturing the scene on the night of Halloween. The water, he said slowly. The flood from Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. I bet you Mrs. Norris only saw the reflection. He scanned the page in his hand eagerly. The more he looked at it, the more it made sense. The basilisk flees only from the crowing of the rooster, which is fatal to it. He read aloud. Hagrid's roosters were killed. Bitch, they was killing Hagrid's chickens. I do not appreciate that. Also, I feel the need to say this. So, my cousin ain't gonna see this. It's okay, so I'm about to talk about her real quick. She is 19, and it was last year or maybe the year before last. I have chickens, by the way, if you don't know. I have all girls. And we were talking about something, and she was saying roosters, and I was like, yeah, a chicken. And she was like, no, like a rooster. And I said chicken. And I said, do you not know what a rooster is? And she was like, a rooster is a rooster. She did not know, which I've noticed that a lot of people don't know this. A rooster is a boy chicken. A hen is a girl chicken. They're both chickens. Rooster, male, hen, female. So I just felt the need to say that because I don't know who didn't know that, but now you know. The American school system has failed these children. So, like, I take personal offense to killing somebody's roosters. I don't have any roosters. I ain't got no use for no boy animals. I got all girls, but damn, that's fucked up. And I bet you it was the motherfucking Slytherins that killed Hagrid's roosters. And you know, Lucius, he don't like Hagrid anyway, so he probably did that shit personally when he killed Hagrid's roosters. The heir of Slytherin didn't want anyone near the castle once the chamber had opened. Spiders flee before the basilisk. It all fits. But how's the basilisk been getting around this place? Said Ron. A giant snake. Someone would have seen. Harry, however, pointed at the word Hermione had scribbled at the foot of the page. Pipes, he said. Pipes, Ron. It's been using the plumbing. I've been hearing the voice inside the walls. Boy, this child's smart. Listen, Hermione is petrified and she's still helping us figure shit out, okay? Don't play with her. Ron suddenly grabbed Harry's arm. The entrance to the Chamber of Secrets, he said hoarsely. What if it's a bathroom? What if it's in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom? Said Harry. They sat there, excitement coursing through them, hardly able to believe it. This means, said Harry, I can't be the only Parselmouth in the school. The heir of Slytherin's one, too. That's how he's been controlling the basilisk. What are we going to do? Said Ron, whose eyes were flashing. Should we go straight to McGonagall? Let's go to the staff room, said Harry, jumping up. She'll be there in 10 minutes. It's nearly break. Okay, because, baby, we got to tell McGonagall. I'm very happy that they didn't just try to run their ass downstairs. Excuse me. I'm just so happy that they didn't just try to run their ass downstairs to the Chamber of Secrets, that they actually are going to go tell the most responsible adult that we have on premises. I just always got to hit the microphone at least once. It was a large, paneled room full of dark wooden chairs. Harry and Ron paced around it, too excited to sit down, but the bell to the signal break never came. Instead, echoing through the corridors came Professor McGonagall's voice, magically magnified. All students to return to their house dormitories at once. All teachers return to the staff room immediately, please. Fuck, we was just trying to talk to McGonagall. We don't know who the heir of Slytherin is. We know it's not McGonagall. Harry wheeled around to stare at Ron. Not another attack, not now. What do we do? Said Ron, aghast. Back to the dormitory? No, said Harry, glancing around. There was an ugly sort of wardrobe to his left, full of the teachers' cloaks. In here, let's hear what it's all about. Then we can tell them what we found. Harry, I wouldn't say this information in front of all the teachers. Just wait until McGonagall is by herself. I would, however, be in the closet listening. Now that I agree with, because you want to get put up on game. But I wouldn't tell all the teachers all at once. Tell just McGonagall. They hid themselves inside it, listening to the rumbling of hundreds of people moving overhead and the staff room door banging open. From between the musty folds of the cloaks, they watched the teachers filtering into the room. Some of them were looking puzzled, others downright scared. Then Professor McGonagall arrived. "It has happened," she told the silent staff room. "A student has been taken by the monster right into the chamber itself. God damn it!" Professor Flitwick let out a squeal. "Okay, Flitwick is me." Professor Sprout clapped her hands over her mouth. "Also me." Snape grinned. "Not me at all. Why do Snape work here? Why?" Snape gripped the back of a chair very hard and said, "Oh, it said gripped. Okay, not grinned. See, I'm ready. I'll be so ready to hate him." Not me mixing up in my mind real quick Snape and Malfoy. This is Snape. Cloak, all black. Hated Harry since his mama died, okay? This is Snape. Snape gripped at the back of a chair very hard and said, "How can you be sure?" That is so funny. I hate Malfoy so much. I literally thought that shit was talking about him and said green instead of grip. See, people, this is why you got to slow down. "The heir of Slytherin," said Professor McGonagall, who was very white, left another message right underneath the first one. "Her skeleton will lie in the chamber forever." Oh my God, this is so fucked up. Sitting here taking children. To prove what point? You're taking children. This is fucked up. Professor Flitwick burst into tears. "Who is it?" said Madam Hooch, who had sunk, weak-kneed, into a chair. "Which student?" "Jenny Weasley! Oh, hell no! Bitch! Oh, hell no! Bitch, they done got Jenny. I thought we was safe. Oh, hell no. Bitch, I thought we was safe. Because they already got Hermione petrified. I'm not thinking about none of the other Weasley kids because Ron is right here. Oh, hell no, bitch. Oh, they got Jenny. No. Absolutely not. But I don't even want to read no more. I don't even know how far we are into this 13th chapter. RIP to headphone users. I'm sorry. But if y'all are not new here, y'all know how loud my mouth is. So I don't even know why y'all would do that to yourself. All right, y'all, we must go on. We have to see how this ends. Harry felt Ron slide silently down onto the wardrobe floor beside him. I don't even want to fucking read. This literally just made me sick. "We shall have to send all the students home tomorrow," said Professor McGonagall. "This is the end of Hogwarts. Dumbledore always said." The staff room door banged open again. For one wild moment, Harry was sure it would be Dumbledore, but it was Lockhart, and he was beaming. "So sorry. Dozed off. What have I missed?" He hadn't seemed to notice that the other teachers were looking at him with something remarkably hatred. Snape stepped forward. "Just the man," he said. "The very man. A girl has been snatched by the monster, Lockhart, taken into the Chamber of Secrets itself. Your moment has come at last. Now, y'all, this is when we about to see if Lockhart is really made of all that shit he be talking. I did this and I did that and I saved this town and I got all these awards and I'm this, I'm that. Yeah, nigga, put your money where your mouth is. Go get Jenny right now." Go get Jenny right now. Lockhart blanched. "That's right, Gilderoy," chipped in Professor Sprout. "Weren't you just saying last night that you've known all along where the entrance of the Chamber of Secrets is?" Well, sputtered Lockhart. "Yes, didn't you tell me you were sure you knew what was inside it?" piped up Professor Flitwick. "Did I? I don't recall." "I certainly remember you saying you were sorry you hadn't had a crack at the monster before Hagrid was arrested," said Snape. "Didn't you say the whole affair had been bungled and that you should have been given free rein from the first?" Lockhart stared around at his stony-faced colleagues. I never really... You may have misunderstood." Well, leave it to you then, Gilderoy, said Professor McGonagall. Tonight will be an excellent time to do it. We'll make sure everyone's out of your way. You'll be able to tackle the monster all by yourself. A free rein at last. Lockhart gazed desperately around him, but nobody came to his rescue. He didn't look remotely handsome anymore. His lip was trembling. And in the absence of his usually toothy grin, he looked weak-chinned and feeble. Very well, he said. I'll be in my office getting ready. And he left the room. Right, said Professor McGonagall, whose nostrils were flared. That's got him from out under our feet. The heads of the houses shall go in and inform their students what has happened. Tell them the Hogwarts Express will take them home first thing tomorrow. Will the rest of you please make sure no students have been left outside their dormitories? The teachers rose and left, one by one. All right, y'all. I hope McGonagall is in here by herself so we can tell her that we know what the fuck is going on and we know how to stop it. Also, if we do this, I don't want Lockhart to get the credit, because what if Harry and Ron stop the monster and then Gilderoy just so happened to be there and then he tried to take all the credit? No. Also, I'm wondering, so if they kill the basilisk, will it automatically like unpetrify everybody if the basilisk is dead? Or do they have to like... No, that's not gonna work because they're petrified. They're not like under a spell or anything. Yeah, the mandrakes are what we need to unpetrify the people. And they done growing now. So yeah, we got to get that mandrake recipe together. Never mind, y'all. It was probably the worst day of Harry's entire life. No, the worst day of your life was when you was a baby and the V-Man killed your mama and daddy. He, Ron, Fred, this is just the worst day that he remember. He, Ron, Fred, and George sat together in a corner of the Gryffindor common room. Damn, y'all didn't tell McGonagall? Or you just gonna get the boys together and y'all gonna go do it yourself? Unable to say anything to each other, Percy wasn't there. He had gone to send an owl to Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, then shut himself up in his dormitory. No afternoon ever lasted as long as that one, nor had Gryffindor Tower ever been so crowded yet so quiet. Near sunset, Fred and George went up to bed, unable to sit there any longer. She knew something, Harry, said Ron, speaking for the first time since they had entered the wardrobe in the staff room. That's why she was taken. It wasn't some stupid thing about Percy at all. She found out something about the Chamber of Secrets. That must be why she was... Ron rubbed his eyes frantically. I mean, she was a pureblood. There can't be any other reason. Harry could see the sun sinking, blood red, below the skyline. This was the worst he had ever felt. If only there was something they could do. Anything. Harry, said Ron, do you think there's any chance at all she's not, Harry didn't know what to say. He couldn't see how Ginny could still be alive. Do you know what? Said Ron. I think we should go and see Lockhart. Tell him what we know. No, fuck Lockhart. Tell McGonagall. She's a better wizard than he could ever be. Period. Tell McGonagall. He's going to try and get into the chamber. We can tell him where we think it is and tell him it's a basilisk in there. Because Harry couldn't think of anything else to do, and because he wanted to be doing something, he agreed. The Gryffindors around them were so miserable and felt so sorry for the Weasleys that nobody tried to stop them as they got up, crossed the room, and left through the portrait hole. Darkness was falling as they walked down to Lockhart's office. He probably packing his shit up leaving, y'all. Like in the movie. If I remember correctly, that was Lockhart that did that, right? There seemed to be a lot of activity going on inside it. They could hear scraping, thumps, and hurried footsteps. Harry knocked, and there was a sudden silence from inside. Then the door opened the tiniest crack, and they saw one of Lockhart's eyes peering through it. Oh, Mr. Potter. Mr. Weasley, he said, opening the door a bit wider. I'm rather busy at the moment, if you could be quick. Professor, we've got some information for you, said Harry. We think it'll help you. Well, it's not terribly... The sight of Lockhart's face that they could see looked very uncomfortable. I mean, well, all right. He opened the door and they entered. His office had been almost completely stripped. The two large trunks stood open on the floor. Robes, jade green, lilac, midnight blue, had been hastily folded into one of them. Books were jumbled untidily into the other. The photographs that had covered the walls were now crammed into boxes on the desk. "Are you going somewhere?" said Harry. Well, yes," said Lockhart, ripping a life-size poster of himself from the back of the door as he spoke and started rolling it up. "Urgent call, unavoidable, gotta go." "What about my sister?" said Ron jerkily. "Well, as to that, most unfortunate," said Lockhart, avoiding their eyes as he wrenched open a drawer and started emptying the contents into a bag. "No one regrets more than I." "You're the defense against the dark arts teacher," said Harry. "You can't go now, not with all the dark stuff going on here." "Well, I must say, when I took the job," Lockhart muttered, now piling socks on top of his robes, "nothing in the job description. Didn't expect—" "You mean you're running away?" said Harry disbelievingly. "After all that stuff you did in your books?" "Books can be misleading." "You don't say, Lockhart, you don't say." "Books can be misleading," said Lockhart delicately. "You wrote them," Harry shouted. "My dear boy," said Lockhart, straightening up and frowning at Harry, "do use your common sense. My books wouldn't have sold half as well if people didn't think I'd done all those things. No one wants to read about some ugly old Armenian warlock if he did save a village from werewolves. He looked dreadful on the front cover. No dress sense at all. And the witch who had banished the abandoned banshee had a hairy chin. I mean, come on. So you've just been taking credit for what a load of other people have done?" said Harry incredulously. Harry, said Lockhart, shaking his head impatiently. "It's not nearly as simple as that. There was work involved. I had to track those people down, ask them exactly how they managed to do what they did, and then I put a memory charm on them so they wouldn't remember doing it." This man is so fucked up. That's very fucked up. If there's one thing I pride myself on, it's my memory charms. No, it's been a lot of work, Harry. It's not all my book signings and publicity photos, you know. You want fame. You have to be prepared. Hold on, I'm so mad I can't read. Hold on, I need some of this water. Because this man is pissing me off. No, it's been a lot of work, Harry. It's not all book signings and publicity photos, you know. You want fame? You have to be prepared for a long, hard slog. He banged the lids of his trunks shut and locked them. "Let's see," he said. "I think that's everything." Yes, only one thing left. He pulled out his wand and turned to them. He probably finna try to put a memory thing on them, but baby, no, I don't think. Let me see how this plays out. "Awfully sorry, boys, but I'll have to put a memory charm on you now. Can't have you blabbing my secrets all over the place. I'd never sell another book." Harry reached his wand just in time. Lockhart barely raised his, and Harry bellowed, "Expelliarmus!" Lockhart was blasted backward, falling over his trunk. His wand flew high into the air. Ron caught it and flung it out of the open window. Boy, them kids fast. You had to be quicker than that. "Shouldn't have let Professor Snape teach us that one," said Harry furiously, kicking Lockhart's trunk aside. "Okay, and you kicking his shit. I heard that." Lockhart was looking up at him, feeble once more. Harry was still pointing his wand at him. "What do you want me to do?" said Lockhart weakly. "I don't know where the Chamber of Secrets is. There's nothing I can do." "You're in luck." "Harry, why don't you just fucking do it? Lockhart is clearly of no use to us. Why are you steady trying to tell him the fucking information instead of just going and telling McGonagall? A able-bodied adult." "You're in luck," said Harry, forcing Lockhart to his feet at one point. "We think we know where it is and what's inside it. Let's go." They marched Lockhart out of his office and down the nearest stairs, along the dark corridor where the messages shone on the wall, to the door of Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. They sent Lockhart in first. Okay. Harry was pleased to see Harry was pleased to see that he was shaking. Moaning Myrtle was sitting on the tank end of one of the toilets. "Oh, it's you," she said when she saw Harry. "What do you want this time?" "To ask you how you died," said Harry. Myrtle's whole aspect changed at once. She looked as though she had never been asked such a flattering question. "Oh, it was dreadful," she said with relish. "It happened right in here. I died in this very stall. I remember it so well. I'd hidden because of Olive Hornby was teasing me about my glasses. The door was locked and I was crying, and then I heard somebody come in. They said something funny, a different language. I think it must have been. Anyway, what really got me was that it was a boy speaking, so I unlocked the door to tell him to go use his own toilet, and then Myrtle swelled importantly, her face shining. I died. How? Said Harry. No idea, said Myrtle in hushed tones. I just remember seeing a great big pair of yellow eyes. God damn it, it was the basilisk. My whole body sort of seized up, and then I was floating away. She looked dreamily at Harry. And then I came back again. I was determined to haunt Olive Hornby, you see. Oh, she was sorry she'd ever laughed in my glasses. Olive Hornby? I thought that would have been a boy. Where exactly did you see the eyes? Said Harry. Somewhere there, said Myrtle, pointing vaguely toward the sink in front of her toilet. God damn it. Harry and Ron hurried over to it. Lockhart was standing well back, a look of utter terror on his face. It looked like an ordinary sink. They examined every inch of it, inside and out, including the pipes below, and then Harry saw it. Scratched on the side of one of the copper taps was a tiny snake. That tap's never worked, said Myrtle brightly as he tried to turn it. Harry, said Ron, say something in Parseltongue. But Harry thought hard. The only times he'd ever managed to speak Parseltongue was when he'd been face to face with a real snake. He stared hard at the tiny engraving, trying to imagine it was real. Open up, he said. He looked at Ron, who shook his head. English, he said. Harry looked back at the snake, willing himself to believe it was alive. If he moved his head, the candlelight made it look as though it were moving. Open up, he said, except the words weren't what he heard. A strange hissing had escaped him. Ah! Okay, Harry speaking Parseltongue, bitch! And at once the tap glowed with a brilliant white light and began to spin. This shit is legendary that these kids are doing. And they didn't tell McGonagall. It's really annoying. At once, the tap glowed with a brilliant white light and began to spin. Next second, the sink began to move. The sink, in fact, sank right out of sight, leaving a large pipe exposed, a pipe wide enough for a man to slide into. Harry heard Ron gasp and looked up again. He had made up his mind what he was going to do. I'm going down there, he said. He couldn't not go now that they had found the entrance to the chamber. Nor if there was even the faintest, slimmest, wildest chance that Jenny might be alive. Me too, said Ron. There was a pause. Well, you hardly seem to need me, said Lockhart with the shadow of his old smile. He put his hand on the doorknob, but Ron and Harry both pointed their wands at him. You can go first, Ron snarled. Okay, baby, listen, we need a body in front of us just in case, okay? Shit might get crazy down here. White-faced and wandless, Lockhart approached the opening. Boys, he said, his voice feeble. Boys, what good will it do? Harry jabbed him in the back with his wand. Lockhart slid his legs into the pipe. I really don't think, he started to say, but Ron gave him a push, and he slid out of sight. Harry followed quickly. He lowered himself slowly into the pipe, then let go. It was like rushing down an endless, slimy, dark slide. He could see more pipes branching off in all directions, but none as large as theirs, which twisted and turned, sloping steeply downward, and he knew that he was falling deeper below the school than the dungeons. Behind him, he could hear Ron thudding slightly at the curves. And then, just as he had begun to worry about what would happen when he hit the ground, the pipe leveled out, and he shot out of the end with a wet thud, landing on the damp floor of a dark stone tunnel large enough to stand in. Lockhart was getting to his feet a little ways away, covered in slime and as white as a ghost. Harry stood aside as Ron came whizzing out of the pipe, too. We must be miles under the school, said Harry, his voice echoing in the black tunnel. Under the lake, probably, said Ron, squinting around the dark, slimy walls. All three of them turned to stare into the darkness ahead. Lumos! Harry muttered to his wand, and it lit up again. Come on, he said to Ron and Lockhart, and off they went, their footsteps slapping loudly on the wet floor. Y'all, these kids ain't got no fear. I love that. The tunnel was so dark that they could only see a little distance ahead. Their shadows on the wet walls looked monstrous in the wan light. "Remember," said Harry quietly as they walked cautiously forward, "any sign of movement, close your eyes right away." But the tunnel was quiet as the grave, and the first unexpected sound they heard was a loud crunch as Ron stepped on what turned out to be a rat's skull. That's disgusting. I mean, we all know that snakes eat rats, but that's gross. Harry lowered his wand to look at the floor and saw that it was littered with small animal bones, trying very hard not to imagine what Jenny might look like if they found her. Harry led the way. I don't think Jenny gonna be dead, by the way, y'all, but we'll see. Harry led the way forward around a dark bend in the tunnel. "Harry, there's something up there," said Ron hoarsely, grabbing Harry's shoulder. They froze, watching. Harry could just see the outline of something huge and curved lying right across the tunnel. It wasn't moving. "Maybe it's asleep," he breathed, glancing back at the other two. Lockhart's hands were pressed over his eyes. Harry turned back to look at the thing, his heart beating so fast it hurt. Very slowly, his eyes as narrow as he could make them still see, Harry edged forward, his wand held high. Not my voice getting lower. Hold on, y'all. It's getting scary. The light slid over a gigantic snake skin of a vivid poisonous green, lying curled and empty across the tunnel floor. The creature that had shed must have been 20 feet long at least. "Blimey," said Ron weakly. There was a sudden movement behind him. Gilderoy Lockhart's knees had given way. "Get up," said Ron sharply, pointing his wand at Lockhart. Lockhart got to his feet. Then he dived at Ron, knocking him to the ground. This man is too old for this shit, y'all. Harry jumped forward, but too late. Lockhart was straightening up, panting, Ron's wand in his hand and a gleaming smile back on his face. "The adventure ends here, boys," he said. "I shall take a bit of this skin back up to the school and tell them I was too late to save the girl, and you two tragically lost your minds at the sight of her mangled body. Say goodbye to your memories." He raised Wand's spello-taped wand high over his head and yelled, "Obliviate!" The wand exploded with the force of a small bomb. I was just about to say, he don't know that Ron's wand is broke. Harry flung his arms over his head and ran, slipping over the coils of the snakeskin and out of the way of great chunks of the tunnel ceiling that were thundering to the floor. "See, Gilderoy is down here fucking shit up. I told you don't bring this fucking asshole down here." Next moment, he was standing alone, gazing at a solid wall of broken rock. "Ron," he shouted, "are you okay?" "Ron!" "I'm here," came Ron Muffle's voice from behind the rock fall. "I'm okay." The Jit's not, though. He got blasted by the wand. I don't know what that means. GIT, the Gits. I don't get it. There was a dull thud and a loud "ow." It sounded as though Ron had just kicked Lockhart on the shins. "What now?" Ron's voice said, sounding desperate. "We can't get through. It'll take ages." Harry looked up at the tunnel ceiling. Huge cracks had appeared in it. He had never tried to break apart anything as large as these rocks by magic, and now didn't seem a good moment to try. What if the whole tunnel caved in? And there was another thud and another "ow" from behind the rocks. They were wasting time. Jenny had already been in the Chamber of Secrets for hours. Harry knew there was only one thing to do. "Wait there," he called to Ron. "Wait with Lockhart. I'll go on. If I'm not back in an hour." There was a very pregnant pause. The pregnant. "I'll try and shift some of this rock," said Ron, who seemed to be trying to keep his voice steady, "so you can get back through. And Harry?" "See you in a bit," said Harry, trying to inject some confidence into his shaking voice. And he set off alone, past the giant snake skin. I knew it was going to be a snake skin, by the way, too. When they said it was something long, like just sitting over there, I'm like, they're not about to give us a snake that easy. As he set off alone past the giant snake skin, soon the distant noise of Ron straining to shift the rocks was gone. The tunnel turned and turned again. Every nerve in Harry's body was tingling unpleasantly. He wanted the tunnel to end, yet dreaded what he'd find when it did. And then at last, as he crept around yet another bend, he saw a solid wall ahead in which two intertwined serpents were carved, their eyes set with great glinting emeralds. Harry approached, his throat very dry. There was no need to pretend these snakes were real. Their eyes looked strangely alive. He could guess what he had to do. He cleared his throat, and the emerald eyes seemed to flicker. "Open," said Harry in a low, faint hiss. The serpents parted as the wall cracked open. The half slid smoothly out of sight, and Harry, shaking from head to foot, walked inside. All right, straight to chapter 14. Let's not even play games. Excuse me, chapter 17. I'm talking about 14. I read that last week. Y'all know what this is. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hold on. It's getting good. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, chapter 17. The Heir of Slytherin. He was standing at the end of a very long, dimly lit chamber. Towering stone pillars, entwined with more carved serpents, rose to support a ceiling lost in darkness, casting long black shadows through the odd greenish bloom that filled the place. His heart beating very fast, Harry stood listening to the chill silence. Could the basilisk be lurking in a shadowy corner behind a pillar? And where was Ginny? He pulled out his wand and moved forward between the serpentine columns. Every careful footstep echoed loudly off the shadowy walls. He kept his eyes narrowed, ready to clamp them shut at the smallest sign of movement. The hollow eye sockets of the stone snakes seemed to be following him. More than once, with a jolt of the stomach, he thought he saw one stir. Then, as he drew level with the last pair of pillars, a statue as high as the chamber itself loomed into view, standing against the back wall. Harry had to crane his neck to look into the giant face above. It was an ancient and monkeyish, with a long, thin beard that fell almost to the bottom of the wizard's sweeping stone robes. I mean, y'all, this must be the heir of Slytherin, right? Where two enormous gray feet stood on the smooth chamber floor. And between the feet, face down, lay a small black-robed figure with flaming red hair. "Ginny!" Harry muttered. I just said it too loud because I'm excited. Sprinting to her and dropping to his knees, "Ginny, don't be dead. Please don't be dead." Harry flung his wand aside. Why would he throw his wand? Nigga, you need that. Hello? Why you didn't put it in your pocket, if anything? He flung his wand aside, grabbed Ginny's shoulders, and turned her over. Her face was white as marble and as cold, yet her eyes were closed, so she wasn't petrified. But then she must be. "Ginny, please wake up," Harry muttered, desperately shaking her. Ginny's head lolled hopelessly from side to side. "She won't wake," said a soft voice. Harry jumped and spun around on his knees. A tall, black-haired boy was leaning against the nearest pillar, watching. He was strangely blurred around the edges, as though Harry were looking at him through a misted window, but there was no mistaking him. Tom? Tom Riddle? I mean, obviously we know it's Voldemort, but... Riddle nodded, not taking his eyes off Harry's face. "What do you mean she won't wake?" he said desperately. She's not. She's still alive," said Riddle, "but only just." This nigga just want to use somebody's body so bad. He just so fucked up. That is a little girl. "I'm sorry." Harry stared at him. Tom Riddle had been at Hogwarts 50 years ago, yet he stood here, a weird misty light shining about him, not a day older than 16. "Are you a ghost?" Harry said uncertainly. "A memory," said Riddle quietly, "preserved in a diary for 50 years. He pointed toward the floor near the statue's giant toes. Lying open, there was a little black diary Harry had found in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. For a second, Harry wondered how it had got there, but there were more pressing matters to deal with. "You've got to help me, Tom." "Oh my God, Harry, you still think this nigga is gonna fucking help you? He's in the fucking Chamber of Secrets. He is not your fucking friend." Harry still ain't caught on. Poor baby. "You've got to help me, Tom," Harry said, raising Jenny's head again. We've got to get her out of here. There's a basilisk. I don't know where it is, but it could be along any moment. Please help me. Riddle didn't move. Harry, sweating, managed to hoist Jenny half off the floor and bent to pick up his wand again. But his wand had gone. Did you see? He looked up. Riddle was still watching him, twirling Harry's wand between his long fingers. Thanks, said Harry, stretching out his hand for it. A smile. Harry is so fucking dumb. You don't know how to read the room, Harry. This motherfucker down here in the Chamber of Secrets, next to Jenny's half-dead body, and you think he finna help you? You think he finna help you? Harry is not reading the room. A smile curled the corners of Riddle's mouth. He continued to stare at Harry, twirling his wand idly. Listen, said Harry urgently, his knees sagging with Jenny's dead weight. We've got to go. If the basilisk comes, it won't come until it's called, said Riddle calmly. I could just hear, I bet you this nigga just talking in a straight, just monotone voice, like just unbothered. Harry lowered Jenny back onto the floor, unable to hold her up any longer. What do you mean? He said. Look, give me my wand. I might need it. Why is Harry so fucking dumb? Riddle's smile broadened. You won't be needing it, he said. Harry stared at him. What do you mean, I won't be? I've waited a long time for this, Harry Potter, said Riddle, for the chance to see you, to speak to you. Look, said Harry, losing patience, I don't think you get it. We're in the Chamber of Secrets. We can talk later. We're going to talk now, said Riddle, still smiling broadly, and pocketed Harry's wand. I know he looked creepy as fuck, y'all. Just a creepy-ass teenager just smiling at you, looking evil. Harry stared at him. There was something very funny going on here. How did Jenny get like this? He asked slowly. Well, that's an interesting question, said Riddle pleasantly. And quite a long story. I suppose the real reason Ginny Weasley's like this is because she opened her heart and spilled all her secrets to an invisible stranger. Oh, God damn it. She was probably in the diary talking about Harry. I don't know. What are you talking about? Said Harry. The diary, said Riddle. My diary. Little Ginny's been writing in it for months and months, telling me all her pitiful worries and woes. See, I told you. But my thing is if Ginny wanted to write in a diary, which, okay, you have a diary, I understand that. How the fuck did she get Tom Riddle's diary away from Harry? Because remember, Harry had it and somebody rummaged through his shit and took it. Ginny not finna go in Harry's room, rummage through his shit and take the diary. Like, she didn't even know the diary existed, that he had it. So somebody did that shit and gave it to Ginny on purpose. My diary. Little Ginny's been writing in it for months and months, telling me all her pitiful worries and woes, how her brothers teased her, how she had to come to school with secondhand robes and books, how, Riddle's eyes glinted, how she didn't think famous, good great Harry Potter would ever like her. All the time he spoke, Riddle's eyes never left Harry's face. There was an almost hungry look into them. It's very boring, having to listen to the silly little troubles of an 11-year-old girl, he went on. But I was patient. I wrote back. I was sympathetic. I was kind. Ginny simply loved me. No one's ever understood me like you, Tom. I'm so glad I've got this diary to confide in. It's like having a friend I can carry around in my pocket. Y'all check on y'all kids. I ain't got none, but y'all check on y'all kids. Anybody that got an 11-year-old girl, check on y'all kids. Riddle laughed. A high, cold laugh that didn't suit him. It made the hair stand up on the back of Harry's neck. If I say it myself, Harry, I've always been able to charm the people I needed. So Ginny poured out her soul to me, and her soul happened to be exactly what I wanted. I grew stronger and stronger on a diet of her deepest fears and her darkest secrets. I grew powerful, far more powerful than little Miss Weasley. Powerful enough to start feeding Miss Weasley a few of my secrets, to start pouring a little of my soul back into her. What do you mean? Said Harry, whose mouth had gone very dry. Haven't you guessed yet, Harry Potter? Said Riddle softly. Ginny Weasley opened the Chamber of Secrets. She strangled the school. Oh, not strangled. Killing with your bare hands is different. Wow. He put his energy into her. That's crazy. She strangled the school roosters and daubed threatening messages on the walls. She set the serpent of Slytherin on 4 mudbloods and the squib's cat. No, Harry whispered. Yes, said Riddle calmly. Of course she didn't know what she was doing at first. It was very amusing. I wish you could have seen her new entries in the diary. Far more interesting. They became, Dear Tom, he recited, watching Harry's horrified face. I think I'm losing my memory. There are rooster feathers all over my robes and I don't know how they got there. Dear Tom, I can't remember what I did on the night of Halloween, but a cat was attacked. And I've got to paint all down on my front. Dear Tom, Percy keeps telling me I'm pale and I'm not myself. I think he suspects me. There was another attack today and I didn't know where I was. Tom, what am I going to do? I think I'm going mad. I think I'm the one attacking everyone. Tom. Harry's fists were clenched, the nails digging deep into his palms. It took a very long time for stupid little Ginny to stop trusting her diary, said Riddle. But she finally became suspicious and tried to dispose of it. And that's where you came in. Harry, you found it. Oh, so she had it before Harry. So how the fuck did she get it? Harry, you found it, and I couldn't have been more delighted. Of all the people who would have picked it up, it was you, the very person I was most anxious to meet. And why did you want to meet me? Said Harry. Anger was coursing through him. It was an effort to keep his voice steady. Well, you see, Ginny told me all about you, Harry, said Riddle. Your whole fascinating history. His eyes roved over the lightning scar on Harry's forehead, and their expression grew hungrier. I knew I must find out more about you, talk to you, meet you if I could, so I decided to show you my famous capture of the great oaf, Hagrid, to gain your trust. Hagrid's my friend, said Harry, his voice now shaking. And you framed him, didn't you? I thought you made a mistake. But Riddle laughed his high laugh again. It was my word against Hagrid's, Harry. Well, you can imagine how it looked to an old Armando Dippet. Armando Dippet? What is Armando? Obviously, this is an insult to Hagrid, calling him an old Armando Dippet. I don't appreciate that. Please leave that in the comments. An old Armando Dippet. On the one hand, Tom Riddle, poor but brilliant parentless, but so brave, school prefect, model student. On the other hand, big, blundering Hagrid, in trouble every other week, trying to raise werewolf cubs under his bed, sneaking off to the Forbidden Forest to wrestle trolls. I could see Hagrid wrestling the troll. But I admit, even I was surprised how well the plan worked. I thought someone must realize that Hagrid couldn't possibly be the heir of Slytherin. It had taken me 5 whole years to find out everything I could about the Chamber of Secrets and discover the secret entrance, as though Hagrid had the brains or the power. Only the Transfiguration teacher Dumbledore seemed to think Hagrid was innocent. He persuaded Dippet to keep Hagrid. Oh, Dippet was the previous principal. Okay, yeah. Dippet was the previous principal before Dumbledore. He persuaded Dippet to keep Hagrid and to train him as a gameskeeper. Yes, I think Dumbledore might have guessed. Dumbledore never seemed to like me as much as the other teachers did. I bet Dumbledore saw right through you, said Harry, his teeth gritted. Well, he certainly kept an annoyingly close watch on me after Hagrid was expelled. So this the motherfucker that got Hagrid expelled for framing him for opening the Chamber of Secrets. Hagrid is best suited as the gameskeeper at Hogwarts, but expelling him was crazy. Because where's y'all proof that Hagrid did that? Like, yeah, he was framed, but y'all didn't have no concrete proof. There is absolutely positively nothing about Hagrid that gives heir of Slytherin. Tom Riddle charmed them people, and they fucking believed it. But Dumbledore didn't, and this is why he's Big D. Well, oh no, I read that part already. I knew it wouldn't be safe to open the chamber again while I was still at school, but I wasn't going to waste those long years I'd been spent searching for it. I decided to leave behind a diary, preserving my 16-year-old self in its pages, so that one day, with luck, I will be able to lead another in my footsteps and finish Salazar Slytherin's noble work. Well, you haven't finished it, said Harry triumphantly. No one's died this time, not even the cat. In a few hours, the mandrake drop will be ready and everyone who is petrified will all be right again. Haven't I already told you, said Riddle quietly, that killing mudbloods doesn't matter to me anymore? For many months now, my new target has been you. Harry stared at him. Imagine how angry I was when the next time my diary was opened, it was Ginny who was writing to me, not you. Oh, so Ginny went and looked for it. Okay, so Ginny did go take it from Harry. Okay. She saw you with the diary, you see, and panicked. What if you found out how to work it? And I repeated all her secrets to you. Oh, that makes sense, because she was writing her secrets in there. You know, she loved Harry and all of that. Okay. Now, okay, it's making sense, y'all. What if even worse? I told you who'd been strangling roosters. So the foolish little brat waited until your dormitory was deserted and stole it back. But I knew what I must do. It was clear to me that you were on the trail of Slytherin's heir. From everything Ginny had told me about you, I knew you would go to any lengths to solve the mystery, particularly if one of your best friends was attacked. And Ginny has told me the whole school was buzzing because you could speak parcel tongue. So, I made Ginny write down her farewell on the wall and come down here to wait. She struggled and cried and became very bothering, but there isn't much life left in her. She's put in too much into the diary and to me. Enough to let me leave its pages at last. I have been waiting for you to appear since we arrived here. I knew you'd come. I have many questions for you, Harry Potter. Like what? Harry spat, fists still clenched. Well, said Riddle, smiling pleasantly. How is it? Okay. Hold on, y'all. He about to talk his shit. Hold on. Okay. It's getting real, y'all. Okay. Well, said Riddle, smiling pleasantly, how is it that you, a skinny boy with no extraordinary magical talent, managed to defeat the greatest wizard of all time? How did you escape with nothing but a scar, while Lord Voldemort's powers were destroyed? Yeah, because his mama put that old magic on him, bitch, and it bounced back on him, ho. There was an odd red gleam in his hungry eyes now. Why do you care how I escaped? Said Harry slowly. Voldemort was after your time. Voldemort, said Riddle softly, is my past, present, and future Harry Potter. Shit. He pulled Harry's wand out from his pocket and began to trace it through the air, writing 3 shimmering words. Tom Marvolo Riddle. He then... Oh my God, I know what he about to do. Okay. Then he waved the wand once, and the letters of his name rearranged themselves. I am Lord Voldemort. You see, he whispered, it was a name I was already using at Hogwarts, to my most intimate friends only, of course. You think I was going to use my filthy muggle father's name forever? I, in whose veins run the blood of Salazar Slytherin himself, through my mother's side, I keep the name of a foul common muggle who abandoned me even before I was born, just because he found out his wife was a witch? No, Harry, I fashioned myself a new name, a name I knew wizards everywhere one day would fear to speak, when I had become the greatest sorcerer in the world. Harry's brain seemed to have jammed. He stared numbly at Riddle, at the orphan boy who had grown up to murder Harry's own parents, and so many others. At last he forced himself to speak. You're not, he said, his voice quiet, voice full of hatred. Not what? Snapped Riddle. Not the greatest sorcerer in the world, said Harry, breathing fast. Sorry to disappoint you and all that, but the greatest wizard in the world is Albus Dumbledore. Everyone says so. Even when you were strong, you didn't dare try to take over Hogwarts. Dumbledore saw right through you when you were at the school, and he still frightens you now, wherever you're hiding these days. The smile had gone from Riddle's face, to be replaced by a very ugly look. Dumbledore's been driven out of this castle by the mere memory of me, he hissed. He's not as gone as you might think, Harry retorted. He was speaking at random, wanting to scare Riddle, wishing rather than believing it to be true. Riddle opened his mouth, but froze. Music was coming from somewhere. Riddle whirled around and stared down the empty chamber. The music was growing louder. It was eerie, spine-tingling, unearthly. It lifted the hair on Harry's scalp and made his heart feel as though it was swelling twice its normal size. Then, as the music reached such a pitch that Harry felt it vibrating inside his own ribs, flames erupted at the top of the nearest pillar. Oh my God, bitch, is that the Phoenix? Okay. A crimson bird the size of a swan had appeared, piping its weird music to the vaulted ceiling. It had glittering... Look, hold on, bitch, I'm excited. Hold on. It had a glittering golden tail as long as a peacock's and gleaming golden talons, which were gripping a ragged bundle. I hope it's a motherfucking rooster, okay? A second later, the bird was flying straight at Harry. It dropped the ragged thing it was carrying at his feet, then landed heavily on his shoulder as it folded its great wings. Harry looked up and saw it had a long, sharp golden beak and a beady black eye. The bird stopped singing. It had to still... It sat still to warm up next to Harry's cheek, gazing steadily at Riddle. That's a phoenix, said Riddle, staring shrewdly back at it. Fox? Harry breathed, and he felt the bird's golden claws squeeze his shoulder gently. And that, said Riddle, now eyeing the ragged thing that the fox has dropped, that's the old school sorting hat. Well, what the fuck we doing with the sorting hat, goddammit? Why you ain't bring a rooster down here to cockle-doodle-doo? So it was. Patched. Frayed. What if they say Harry the heir of Slytherin? That should be crazy. So it was. Patched. Frayed and dirty. The hat lay motionless at Harry's feet. Riddle began to laugh again. He laughed. Is the Gryffindor sword in the hat? I don't know. But I know this bird ain't just drop off this hat just to be dropping off this hat. We're not about to put this hat on and start talking. He laughed so hard that the dark chamber rang with it, as though 10 riddles were laughing at once. This is what Dumbledore sends his defender? A songbird and an old hat? Do you feel brave, Harry Potter? Do you feel safe now? Harry didn't answer. He might not see what use Fox or the sorting hat were, but he was no longer alone, and he waited for Riddle to stop laughing, with his courage mounting. To business, Harry, said Riddle, still smiling broadly. Twice in your past, in my future, we have met. And twice I failed to kill you. How did you survive? Tell me everything. The longer you talk, he added softly, the longer you stay alive. Harry was thinking fast, weighing his chances. Riddle had the wand. Harry, had Fox and the sorting hat, neither of which would be much good in a duel. It looked bad. All right, but the longer Riddle stood there, the more life was dwindling out of Ginny. And in the meantime, Harry noticed suddenly Riddle's outline was becoming clearer, more solid. If it had to be a fight between him and Riddle, better sooner than later. No one knows why you lost your powers when you attacked me, said Harry abruptly. I don't know myself, but I know why you couldn't kill me. Because my mother died to save me. My common, muggle-born mother, he added, shaking with suppressed rage. She stopped you killing me, and I've seen the real you. I saw you last year. You're a wreck. You're barely alive. That's where all your power got you. You're in hiding. You're ugly. You're foul. Riddle's face contorted. Then he forced it into an awful smile. So, your mother died to save you. Yes, that's a power countercharm. That's a powerful countercharm. I can see now. There's nothing special about you after all. I wondered, you see, because there are strange like businesses between us, Harry Potter. Even you must have noticed. Both half-bloods, orphans, raised by muggles. First of all, bitch, all of this is because of you. The only thing that's not your fault is Harry being a half-blood. It's your fault he's an orphan, and it's your fault he was raised by muggles. That's not some shit we have in common. You did that to him. Probably the only 2 parcel mouths to come to Hogwarts since the great Slytherin himself. We even look something alike. Harry looks... No. I had to look at Tom Riddle again. I don't remember. I had to look again. I don't remember, y'all. But after all, it was merely a lucky chance that you were saved from me. That's all I wanted to know. Harry stood, tense, waiting for Riddle to wait. Hold on. Oh, y'all gonna make me throw up. All right. Harry stood, tense, waiting for Riddle to raise his wand. But Riddle's twisted smile was widening again. Hold on, y'all. This bitch making me sick. He getting on my nerve. Now, Harry, I'm going to teach you a little lesson. Let's match the powers of Lord Voldemort, heir of Salazar Slytherin, against famous Harry Potter, and the best weapons Dumbledore can give him. He cast an amused eye over Fawkes and the Sorting Hat, then walked away. Harry, fear spreading up his numb legs, watched Riddle stop between the high pillars and look up into the stone face of Slytherin. High above him in the half-darkness. Why they didn't do this in the movie? This shit is legendary. This shit right here. I understand y'all got to switch it up and y'all can't just take the book directly to the screen, but nobody will complain. This shit is good. This shit is good. Riddle opened his mouth wide and hissed, but Harry understood what he was saying. Oh my God! Speak to me, Slytherin, greatest of the Hogwarts Four. Harry wheeled around to look up at the statue, Fawkes swaying on his shoulder. Slytherin's gigantic stone face was moving. Horror-struck, Harry saw his mouth opening wider and wider to make a huge black hole. Oh my God, I swear to God, bitch, if that snake come out of there! And something was stirring inside the statue's mouth. Something was slithering up from its depths. Ah! Shit! He pulling out the basilisk. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. It was already real, but shit just got real. Harry backed away until he hit the dark chamber wall, and his eyes shut tight as he felt Fawkes' wing sweep his cheek as he took flight. Harry wanted to shout, "Don't leave me!" But what chance did a phoenix have against the King of Serpents? Something huge hit the stone floor of the chamber. Harry felt it shudder. He knew what was happening. He could sense it. He could almost see the giant serpent uncoiling itself from Slytherin's mouth. Then he heard Riddle's hissing voice. "Kill him." The basilisk was moving toward Harry. He could hear its heavy body slithering heavily across the dusty floor. Eyes still tightly shut, Harry began to run blindly sideways, his hands outstretched, feeling his way. Voldemort was laughing. Harry tripped. He fell hard onto the stone and tasted blood. The serpent was barely feet from him. He could hear it coming. There was a loud, explosive spitting sound right above him. And then something heavy hit Harry so hard he was smashed into the wall. Waiting for fangs to sink through his body, he heard more mad hissing, something thrashing wildly off of the pillars. He couldn't help it. He opened his eyes wide enough to squint at what was going on. The enormous serpent, bright, poisonous green, thick as an oak trunk, had raised itself high into the air, and its great blunt head was weaving drunkenly between the pillars. As Harry trembled, ready to close his eyes if it turned, he saw that it had what had distracted the snake. Fawkes. "Come on! That's what the fuck I'm talking about, Fawkes. You ain't leave me. You blinding that snake so he can't stare at me and kill me." Fawkes was soaring around its head, and the basilisk was snapping furiously at him with fangs long and thin as sabers. Fawkes dived. His golden beak sank out of sight, and a sudden shower of dark blood spattered the floor. The snake's tail thrashed, narrowly missing Harry, and before Harry could shut his eyes, it turned. Harry looked straight into its face and saw that its eyes, both its great, bulbous, yellow eyes, had been punctured by the phoenix. Blood was streaming to the floor, and the snake was spitting in agony. "No!" Harry heard Riddle screaming, "Leave the bird! Leave the bird! The boy's behind you! You can still smell him! Kill him!" The blinded serpent swayed, confused. Still deadly, Fawkes was circling its head, piping his eerie song, jabbing here and there as his scaly nose and blood poured from its ruined eyes. "Help me! Help me!" Harry muttered wildly. "Someone! Anyone!" The snake's tail whipped across the floor again. Harry ducked. Something soft hit his face. The basilisk had swept the Sorting Hat into Harry's arms. Harry seized it. It was all he had left. His only chance. He rammed it into his head and he threw himself flat onto the floor as the basilisk's tail... Hold on. Oh, bitch. Hold on. Where was I? It was... Ow! Just getting good. Okay. It was all he had left. His only chance. He rammed it onto his head and threw himself flat onto the floor as the basilisk's tail swung over him again. Help me! Help me, Harry thought. His eyes screwed tight under the hat. Please help me! There was no answering voice. Instead, the hat contracted, as though an invisible hand was squeezing it very tightly. Something very hard and heavy thudded on top of Harry's head, almost knocking him out. Stars winking in front of his eyes. He grabbed the top of the hat to pull it off and felt something long and hard beneath it. I'm telling y'all, this that motherfucking Gryffindor sword. Hold on. A gleaming silver sword had appeared inside the hat! Its handle glittering with rubies the size of eggs. Kill the boy! Leave the bird! The boy's behind you! Sniff! Smell him! Harry was on his feet, ready. The basilisk's head was falling, its body coiling around, hitting pillars as it twisted to face him. He could see the vast, bloody eye sockets, see the mouth stretched wide enough to swallow him whole, lined with fangs long as his sword, thin, glittering, venomous. It lunged blindly. Harry dodged it and hit the chamber wall. It lunged again, and his forked tongue lashed Harry's side. He raised a sword in both of his hands. The basilisk lunged again, and this time its aim was true. Harry threw his whole weight behind the sword and drove it into the hilt, into the roof of the serpent's mouth. But as warm blood drenched Harry's arms, he felt a searing pain just above his elbow. I knew one of them teeth was going to catch him. One long poisonous fang was sinking deeper and deeper, Jesus Christ, into his arm. And it splintered as the basilisk keeled over sideways and fell, twitching on the floor. Harry slid down the wall. I was about to start sliding down my chair. I'm so dramatic. The theatrics. I was literally about to start doing this like I was Harry. If y'all listen to the book club and podcast, thank you. Love you. But also watch this on Spotify and watch it on YouTube. Like literally watch it on everything. Because y'all got to see me. Harry slid down the wall. He gripped the fang that was spreading poison through his body and wrenched it out of his arm. But he knew it was too late. Come on, Fox! We need the tears, please! White-hot pain was spreading slowly and steadily from the wound. Even as he dropped the fang and watched his own blood soaking his robes, his vision went foggy. The chamber was dissolving in a whirl of dull color. A patch of scarlet swam past, and Harry heard a soft clatter of claws behind him. Fox? Said Harry thickly. You're fantastic, Fox. He felt the bird lay its beautiful head on the spot where the serpent's fang had pierced him. He could hear echoing footsteps, and then a dark shadow moved in front of him. You're dead, Harry Potter, said Riddle's voice above him. Dead. Even Dumbledore's bird knows it. Do you see what he's doing, Potter? He's crying. Big V. I'm not even going to call him Big V because Dumbledore is Big D, so I'm going to just call him V-Man. V-Man think he just know every fucking thing and he's just almighty V. But you don't know that Phoenix tears are they're about to heal Harry. You supposed to be the snake man. You should know all of this shit about snakes. It's all right. He about to feel real stupid when Fox do his thing. Also, if y'all are like new here, don't forget I watched all the movies and now I'm reading all the books. So that's the only reason that I know that. Like I literally knew nothing going into the Harry Potter movies. The only thing I knew is that it's magic. Literally. Like that's it. Here, it's magic. Harry blinked. Fox's head slid in and out of focus. Thick, pearly tears were trickling down the glossy feathers. I'm going to sit here and watch you die, Harry Potter. Take your time. I'm in no hurry. Harry felt drowsy. Everything around him seemed to be spinning. So ends the famous Harry Potter, said Riddle's distant voice. Alone in the Chamber of Secrets, forsaken by his friends, defeated at last by the Dark Lord he so unwisely challenged. You'll be back with your dear mudblood mother soon, Harry. She bought you 12 years of borrowed time, but Lord Voldemort got you in the end, as you knew he must. Voldemort is talking his shit right now, but this is a premature celebration, bitch. Just you wait. If this is dying, thought Harry. It's not so bad. Even the pain was leaving him. But was this dying? Instead of going black, the chamber seemed to be coming back into focus. Harry gave his head a little shake, and there was Fox, still resting his head on Harry's arm. A pearly patch of tears was shining all around the wound, except there was no wound. "Get away, Bird," said Riddle's voice suddenly. "Get away from him! I said get away!" Harry raised his head. Riddle was pointing Harry's wand at Fox. "What you not about to do is kill this bird." Hold on, y'all, because if you kill this bird, I will be highly upset. There was a loud bang like a gun, and Fox took flight again in a world of gold and scarlet. "Phoenix tears," said Riddle quietly, staring at Harry's arm. "Of course. Healing powers. I forgot." He looked into Harry's face. "But it makes no difference, in fact. I prefer it this way. Just you and me, Harry Potter. You and me." He raised a wand. Then, in a rush of wings, Fox is doing his big one, okay? Okay. Then, in a rush of wings, Fox had soared back overhead and something fell into Harry's lap. The diary. For a split second, both Harry and Riddle, wand still raised, stared at it. Then, without thinking, without considering, as though he had meant to do it all along, Harry seized the basilisk fang on the floor next to him and plunged it straight into the heart of the book. There was a long, dreadful, piercing scream. Ink spurted out of the diary in torrents, streaming over Harry's hand, flooding the floor. Riddle was writhing and twisting, screaming and flailing, and then he had gone. Harry's wand fell to the floor with a clatter, and there was silence. Silence except for the steady drip, drip of ink still oozing from the diary. The basilisk venom had burned a sizzling hole right through it. I would still be stabbing the fuck out that book. Like, nah. Shaking all over, Harry pulled himself up. His head was spinning as though he just traveled miles by flu powder. Slowly, he gathered to... First of all, I hope Ginny is okay, by the way. I hope her life went back into her that he took. Slowly, he gathered together his wand and the sorting hat, and with a huge tug, retrieved the glittering sword from the roof of the basilisk's mouth. Then came a faint moan from the end of the chamber. Ginny was stirring. As Harry hurried toward her, she sat up. Her bemused eyes traveled from the huge form of the dead basilisk over Harry in his blood-soaked robes, then to the diary in his hand. She drew a great, shuddering gasp, and tears began to pour down her face. "Harry! Harry, I tried to tell you at breakfast, but I couldn't say in front of Percy it was me. Harry, but I swear I didn't mean to. Riddle made me. He took over. How did you kill that thing? Where's Riddle? The last thing I remember is him coming out of the diary." "It's all right," said... I almost just started crying doing that, by the way. "It's all right," said Harry, holding up the diary and showing Ginny the fang hole. "Riddle's finished. Look, him and the basilisk. Come on, Ginny, let's get out of here." "I'm going to be expelled!" Ginny wept as Harry helped her awkwardly to her feet. "I've looked forward to coming to Hogwarts ever since Bill..." Oh, this is Ginny. This ain't Harry. "I've looked forward to coming to Hogwarts ever since Bill came, and now I have to leave. What'll Mom and Dad say?" Fox was waiting for them. And this is why Dumbledore is Big D. Don't y'all ever play with Almighty Dumbledore. Stop it. He sent a motherfucking bird. Dumbledore didn't even have to come down there himself. He sent his hitter. Dumbledore's hitter single-handedly just saved Harry and the whole goddamn everything. Stop it. Stop. Dumbledore, he really is the heir of Slytherin with the arrogance. You think so highly of yourself. Dumbledore sent his hitter. He didn't even come personally. Imagine if Dumbledore would have pulled up on you personally. You're not even worth his time. He sent his bird to take care of you. And Harry ain't nothing but 12, 13. Stop it. Kiss my ass, Voldemort. Kiss my ass. Fox was waiting for them, hovering in the chamber entrance. Harry urged Ginny forward. I was about to say, I don't remember what happened to Lockhart, but he's still over there with Ron. They stepped over the motionless coils of the dead basilisk, through the echoing gloom, and back into the tunnel. Harry heard the stone doors close behind them with a soft hiss. Blow up the whole goddamn tunnel, okay? After a few minutes, progress up the dark tunnel, a distant sound, slowly shifting rock, reached Harry's ears. Run! Harry yelled, speeding up. Jenny's okay, I got her! He heard Ron give a strangled cheer, and they turned the next bend to see his eager face staring through the sizable gap he had managed to make in the rock fall. Jenny! Ron thrust an arm through the gap in the rock to pull her through first. You're alive! I don't believe it! What happened? Where did that bird come from? I forgot Ron was with Harry when he was in Dumbledore's office. He don't know that's Dumbledore's Phoenix. Fox had swooped through the gap after Jenny. He's Dumbledore's, said Harry, squeezing through it himself. How come you've got a sword? Said Ron, gaping at the glittering weapon in Harry's hand. I'll explain when we get out of here, said Harry, with a sideways glance at Jenny, who was crying harder than ever. But later, said Harry shortly. He didn't think it was a good idea to tell Ron yet who'd been opening the chamber, not in front of Jenny anyway. Where's Lockhart? Back there, said Ron, still looking puzzled but jerking his head up the tunnel toward Pipe. He's in a bad way. Come and see. Led by Fox, whose wild scarlet wings emitted a soft golden glow in the darkness, they walked all the way back to the mouth of the pipe. Gilderoy Lockhart was sitting there, humming placidly to himself. His memory's gone, said Ron. The memory charm backfired. Look at God! Come on, y'all but stop it. Hit him instead of us. Hasn't got a clue who he is, or where he is, or who we are. I told him to come and wait here. He's a danger to himself. Now that's justice. Now that's karma. What goes around comes around, literally. Hello, he said. Odd sort of place, isn't it? Do you live here? No, said Ron, raising his eyebrows at Harry. Harry bent down and looked up the long, dark pipe. Have you thought about how we're going to get back up this? He said to Ron. I was just thinking that because I don't think Fox came through the pipe. It got to be another entrance. Ron shook his head, but Fox the Phoenix had swooped past Harry and was now fluttering in front of him, his beady bright eyes in the dark. He was waving his golden tail feathers. Harry looked uncertainly at him. He looks like he wants you to grab hold, said Ron, looking perplexed. But you're much too heavy for a bird to pull up there. Fox, said Harry, isn't an ordinary bird. Okay! Put some respect on that Phoenix name. He turned quickly to the others. We've got to hold on to each other. Jenny, grab Ron's hand. Professor Lockhart. He means you. Said Ron sharply to Lockhart. You hold Jenny's other hand. Harry tucked the sword under the sorting hat into his belt. Ron took a hold of the back of Harry's robe, and Harry reached out and took hold of Fox's strangely hot tail feathers. An extraordinary lightness seemed to spread through his whole body, and the next second, in a rush of wings, they were flying upward through the pipe. Harry could hear Lockhart's dangling below him. Amazing! Amazing! This is just like magic! The chill air was whipping through Harry's hair, and before he'd stopped enjoying the ride, it was over. All four of them were hitting the wet floor of Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. And as Lockhart straightened his hat, the sink that had hid the pipe was sliding back into place. Myrtle goggled at them. You're alive, she said blankly to Harry. There's no need to sound so disappointed, he said grimly, wiping flecks of blood and slime off his glasses. Oh, well, I'd just been thinking if you had died, you've been welcome to share my toilet, said Myrtle, blushing silver. Said Ron as they left the bathroom for the dark, deserted corridor outside. Harry, I think Myrtle's grown fond of you. You've got competition, Jenny. But the tears were still flooding silently down Jenny's face. Let me tell you something. Riddle has traumatized that girl to the nth degree. Trauma. Where now? Said Ron, with an anxious look at Jenny. Harry pointed. Fox was leading the way, glowing gold along the corridor. They strode after him, and moments later found themselves outside Professor McGonagall's office. Oh my God, bitch. McGonagall sent the motherfucking Phoenix. Dumbledore ain't even there. I told y'all. Dumbledore is granddaddy. McGonagall is grandma. Hagrid is unc. Harry knocked and pushed the door open. The V-Man is gone for now. We know we got a couple of more books to defeat him. He ain't going all the way. This is just temporary. But y'all, let me tell you something. One thing Voldemort was, in him being so self-centered, is he preserved himself in so many different ways. Like with the book, with him being a child, and then obviously later on we found out about all the 7 Horcruxes. It was 7, right? I think it was 7. And then nigga Harry being one of the Horcruxes, like it was literally a whole thing. That was one of my favorite. We gonna read the last chapter, but that was one of my favorite things too. In the last movie, when Harry and Voldemort was like flying through the fucking air and they showed that fucking splitting apart, I was like, okay, did that like get it off of Harry? It was a whole thing because I was not. It wasn't gonna be the end of the world if they would have killed Harry to save the world, because I'm not attached to Harry like I am Dobby, Dumbledore, McGonagall, and Hagrid. So I was like, well, shit, if we got to kill Harry for the greater good, okay, we just gonna have to do that. But I'm happy he didn't die. Y'all, we about to read this last chapter. Look at the picture. Look like Granddaddy done came on home, y'all. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Chapter 18, Dobby's Reward. Oh my God. Hold on. This one, Dobby about to get set free. This, okay. Now, I'm about to read the last chapter, but this is still not premature, even though I'm not done with the book until I read this last chapter. I told y'all, the first book is better than the first movie, and the second book is better than the second movie. Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite Harry Potter movie out of all 8 of them. Now, we about to see how I feel about the third book compared to the third movie. Like, that's the one I'm most excited about. Okay, anyway. Chapter 18, Dobby's Reward. For a moment, there was silence as Harry, Ron, Ginny, and Lockhart stood in the doorway, covered in muck and slime, and, in Harry's case, blood. Then there was a scream. Ginny! It was Mrs. Weasley, who had been sitting crying in front of the fire. She leapt to her feet, closely followed by Mr. Weasley, and both of them flung themselves on their daughter. Harry, however, was looking past them. Okay, so Dumbledore was there! Yeah, nigga! Why he in McGonagall's office, though, instead of his own? Professor Dumbledore was standing by the mantelpiece, beaming, next to Professor McGonagall, who was taking great, steadying gasps, clutching her chest. Fox went whooshing past Harry's ear and settled on Dumbledore's shoulder. Just as Harry found himself and Ron being swept into Mrs. Weasley's tight embrace. You saved her! You saved her! How did you do it? I think we'd all like to know that, said Professor McGonagall weakly. Let me tell you something. Harry was already family because he Ron's best friend. But like Harry is family after this. Harry is a motherfucking Weasley. Do you hear me? Harry Potter Weasley is his fucking name. Mrs. Weasley let go of Harry, who hesitated for a moment, then walked over to the desk and laid it upon the sorting hat, the ruby-encrusted sword, and what remained of Riddle's diary. Then he started telling them everything. For nearly a quarter of an hour, he spoke into the rapt silence. He told them about hearing the disembodied voice, how Hermione had finally realized that he was hearing a basilisk in the pipes, how he and Ron had followed the spiders into the forest, that Aragog had told them where the last victim of the basilisk had died, how he had guessed that Moaning Myrtle had been the victim, and that the entrance to the Chamber of the Secrets might be in her bathroom. Very well, Professor McGonagall prompted as he paused. So you found out where the entrance was, breaking 100 school rules into pieces along the way, I might add. But how on earth did you all get out of there alive, Potter? So, Harry, his voice now growing hoarse from all this talking, told them about Fox's timely arrival and about the sorting hat giving him the sword, but then he faltered. He had so far avoided mentioning Riddle's diary, or Ginny. She was standing with her head against Mrs. Weasley's shoulder, and tears were still coursing silently down her cheeks. I know that's right, Harry. You can't tell on Ginny because she was possessed. She didn't know what she was doing. What if they expelled her? Harry thought in panic. Riddle's diary didn't work anymore. How could they prove it had been he who'd made her do it all? Instinctively, Harry looked at Dumbledore, who smiled faintly, the firelight glancing off of his half-moon spectacles. What interests me most, said Dumbledore gently, is how Lord Voldemort managed to enchant Ginny with all my sources telling me when my sources tell me he is currently in hiding in the forest of Albania. I'm so tired of Voldemort. Relief, warm, sweeping, glorious relief swept over Harry. What's that? Oh shit, cause her mom and daddy don't know. Mr. Weasley in a stunned voice. You know who? Enchanted Ginny? But Ginny hasn't been, has she? It was the diary, said Harry quickly, picking it up and showing it to Dumbledore. Riddle wrote in it when he was 16. Dumbledore took the diary from Harry and peered keenly down his long, crooked nose at the burnt and soggy pages. Brilliant, he said softly. Of course, he was probably the most brilliant student Hogwarts has ever seen. He turned around to the Weasleys, who were looking utterly bewildered. That is the perfect description. Utterly bewildered. Very few people know that Lord Voldemort was once called Tom Riddle. I taught him myself 50 years ago at Hogwarts. He disappeared after leaving the school, traveled far and wide, sank so deeply into the dark arts, consorted with the very worst of our kind, underwent so many dangerous magical transformations that when he resurfaced as Lord Voldemort, he was barely recognizable. Hardly anyone connected Lord Voldemort with the clever, handsome boy who was once head boy here. But Ginny, said Mrs. Weasley, what's our Ginny got to do with him? His diary, Ginny sobbed. I've been writing in it and he's been writing back all year. Ginny, said Mr. Weasley, flabbergasted. Haven't I taught you anything? What have I always told you? Never trust anything that can think for itself if you can't see where it keeps its brains. That is something to live by. Thank you, Father. Why didn't you show the diary to me or your mother? A suspicious... See, I can't even read now. A suspicious object like that? It was clearly full of dark magic. I didn't know, sobbed Ginny. I found it inside one of the books Mom got me. I thought someone had just left it in there and forgot about it. Miss Weasley should go up to the hospital wing right away, Dumbledore interrupted in a firm tone. This has been a terrible ordeal for her. There will be no punishment. Older and wiser wizards that have been hoodwinked by... Older and wiser wizards than she have been hoodwinked by Lord Voldemort. He strolled over to the door and opened it. Bed rest and perhaps a large steaming mug of hot chocolate. I always find that cheers me up. Y'all, I love Dumbledore so much. That's Granddaddy. He added, twinkling kindly downly at her. You will find that Madame Pomfrey is still awake. She's just giving out mandrake juice. I dare say the basilisk victims will be waking up at any moment. So Hermione's okay? Said Ron brightly. There has been no lasting harm done, Ginny, said Dumbledore. Mrs. Weasley led Ginny out, and Mr. Weasley followed, still looking deeply shaken. You know, Minerva, Professor Dumbledore said thoughtfully to Professor McGonagall, I thought all this merries a good feast. Might I ask you to go and alert the kitchens? Right, said Professor McGonagall crisply, also moving to the door. I'll leave you to deal with Potter and Weasley, shall I? Certainly, said Dumbledore. She left, and Harry and Ron gazed uncertainly at Dumbledore. What exactly had Professor McGonagall meant deal with them? Surely they weren't about to be punished. I seem to remember telling you both that I would have to expel you if you broke any more of my school rules, said Dumbledore. Ron opened his mouth in horror. Which goes to show that the best of us must sometimes eat our words, Dumbledore went on, smiling. You will both receive special awards for service to the school and, let me see. Yes, I think 200 points apiece for Gryffindor! Ron went as brightly pink as Lockhart's Valentine flowers and closed his mouth again. But one of us seems to be keeping a mightily quiet about his part in this dangerous adventure, Dumbledore added. Why so modest, Gilderoy? Harry gave a start. He had completely forgotten about Lockhart. He turned and saw that Lockhart was standing in the corner of the room, still wearing that vague smile. When Dumbledore addressed him, Lockhart looked over his shoulder to see who he was talking to. Professor Dumbledore, Ron said quickly. There was an accident down in the Chamber of Secrets, Professor Lockhart. Am I a professor? said Lockhart in mild surprise. Goodness, I expect I was hopeless, was I? He tried to do a memory charm, and the wand backfired. Ron explained quietly to Dumbledore. Dear me. I could see Dumbledore doing that. Shaking his head, his long silver mustache quivering. Impaled upon your own sword, Gilderoy? Sword? Said Lockhart dimly. Haven't got a sword. That boy has, though. He pointed at Harry. He'll lend you one. This man is so clueless, it's hilarious. Would you mind taking Professor Lockhart up to the infirmary, too? Dumbledore said to Ron. I'd like a few more words with Harry. No, because Harry literally did all the work, mostly. Ron is always moral support, though. I am sorry. I keep hitting this mic. I got to get me a wireless podcast mic for book club. Lockhart ambled out. Ron cast a serious look back at Dumbledore and Harry as he closed the door. Dumbledore crossed to one of the chairs by the fire. Sit down, Harry. All right, y'all. We about to have a talk with Dumbledore, and I have finished this whole 32 ounces of coconut water. Hold on. I done finished that whole 32 ounces of coconut water, and let me tell y'all, I got to pee something serious. Sit down, Harry, he said, and Harry sat, feeling unaccountably nervous. First of all, Harry, I want to thank you, said Dumbledore, eyes twinkling again. You must have shown me real loyalty down in the chamber. Nothing but that could have called Fawkes to you. Dumbledore didn't send Fawkes. It was Harry's energy! That's what the fuck I'm talking about, Harry. Okay, let me put a little respect on Harry's name. Okay. Fawkes said, Harry down there talking that shit, Dumbledore. I'm about to go. Fawkes pulled up on his own. Don't play with that bird. Okay. He strode the phoenix, which had fluttered down into his knee. Harry grinned awkwardly as Dumbledore watched him. And so you met Tom Riddle, said Dumbledore thoughtfully. I imagine he was most interested in you. Suddenly, something that was nagging at Harry came trembling out of his mouth. Professor Dumbledore, Riddle said I'm like him. Strange likeness, he said. Did he now? Said Dumbledore, looking thoughtfully at Harry from under his thick silver eyebrows. And what do you think, Harry? I don't think I'm like him, said Harry more loudly than he intended. I mean, I'm in Gryffindor. But he fell silent, a lurking doubt resurfacing in his mind. Professor, he started again after a moment, the Sorting Hat told me I'd have done well in Slytherin. Everyone thought I was Slytherin's heir for a while, but I can speak Parseltongue. You can speak Parseltongue, Harry? Said Dumbledore calmly. Because Lord Voldemort, who is the last remaining descendant of Salazar Slytherin, can speak Parseltongue. Hold on, let me read that again. You can speak Parseltongue, Harry, said Dumbledore calmly, because Lord Voldemort, who is the last remaining descendant of Salazar Slytherin, can speak Parseltongue. Unless I'm much mistaken, he transferred some of his own powers to you the night he gave you that scar. Something he intended to do. Not something he intended to do, I'm sure. Voldemort put a bit of himself in me? That's literally what I said. That's why when I found out Harry was the last Horcrux, I was like, okay, y'all might have to kill Harry. But I knew Harry wasn't going to die when Harry and Voldemort was flying through the air and you could literally see them pulling apart from each other. That special effects was amazing. Voldemort put a bit of himself in me? Harry said, thunderstruck. It certainly seems so. So I should be in Slytherin, Harry said, looking desperately into Dumbledore's face. The Sorting Hat could see the Slytherin power in me, and it put you in Gryffindor, said Dumbledore calmly. Listen to me, Harry. You happen to have many qualities Salazar Slytherin prized in his hand-picked students. His own very rare gift, Parseltongue, resourcefulness, determination, and certain disregard for rules, he added, his mustache quivering again. Yet the Sorting Hat placed you in Gryffindor. You know why that is? Think. It only put me in Gryffindor, said Harry in a defeated voice, because I asked not to go to Slytherin. Exactly, said Dumbledore, beaming once more, which makes you very different from Tom Riddle. It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. Harry sat motionless in his chair, stunned. If you want proof, Harry, that you belong in Gryffindor, I suggest you look more closely at this. Dumbledore reached across to Professor McGonagall's desk, picked up the blood-stained silver sword, and handed it to Harry. Dully, Harry turned it over, the rubies blazing in the firelight, and then he saw the name engraved just below the hilt. Godric Gryffindor. I see why they made this into some movies. God damn, J.K. Rowling, let me tell you something. She snapped when she wrote these. Only a true Gryffindor could have pulled that out of the hat, Harry, said Dumbledore simply. For a minute, neither of them spoke. Then Dumbledore pulled open one of the drawers in Professor McGonagall's desk and took out a quill and a bottle of ink. What you need, Harry, is some food and sleep. I suggest you go down to the feast. While I write to Azkaban, we need our gameskeeper back. Okay! I love how Dumbledore getting straight to business. All right, let me go and get Hagrid out of jail real quick. And I must draft an advertisement for the Daily Prophet, too, he added thoughtfully. We'll be needing a new defense against the dark arts teacher. Dear me, we do seem to run through them, don't we? Harry got up and crossed to the door. He had just reached for the handle, however, when the door burst open so violently that it bounced back off the wall. Y'all, guess who just bust through the door? The nigga I hate. Lucius Malfoy stood there, fury in his face, and cowering behind his legs, heavily wrapped in bandages, was Dobby. Oh my God! Oh my God! Okay, Dobby about to be free. Okay. Good evening, Lucius, said Dumbledore pleasantly. Mr. Malfoy almost knocked Harry over as he swept into the room. You know he be having his cape. He be so dramatic and shit. Dobby went scurrying in after him, crouching at the hem of his cloak, a look of abject terror in his face. The elf was carrying a stained rag in which he was attempting to finish cleaning Mr. Malfoy's shoes. Apparently, Mr. Malfoy had set out in a great hurry, for not only were his shoes half polished, but his usual sleek hair was disheveled. Ignoring the elf bobbing apologetically around his ankles, he fixed his cold eyes upon Dumbledore. So, he said, you've come back? The governor suspended you, but you still saw fit to return to Hogwarts. Well, you see, Lucius, Dumbledore said, smiling serenely, the other 11 governors contacted me today. It was something like being caught in a hailstorm of owls, to tell the truth. They heard that Arthur Weasley's daughter had been killed and wanted me back here at once. Ooh, not my light cutting off. That's how y'all know I've been reading for a while. Hold on. I really need two of them plugs, two of them cords for my light. They seemed to think I was the best man for the job after all. Very strange tales they told me, too. Several of them seemed to think that you had threatened to curse their families if they didn't agree to suspend me in the first place. Mr. Malfoy went even paler than usual, but his eyes were still slits of fury. So, have you stopped the attacks yet? He sneered. Have you caught the culprit? We have, said Dumbledore with a smile. Well, said Mr. Malfoy sharply, who is it? The same person as last time, Lucius, said Dumbledore, but this time Lord Voldemort was acting through somebody else, by means of his diary. He held up the small black book with a large hole through the center. Watching Mr. Malfoy closely, Harry, however, was watching Dobby. The elf was doing something very odd, his great eyes fixed meaningfully on Harry. He kept pointing at the diary and then at Mr. Malfoy. I see. And then hitting himself hard on the head with his fist. I see, said Mr. Malfoy slowly to Dumbledore. A clever plan, said Dumbledore in a level voice, still staring Mr. Malfoy straight in the eye. Because if Harry here, Mr. Malfoy shot Harry a swift, sharp look, and his friend Ron hadn't discovered this book, why, Ginny Weasley might have taken all the blame. No one would have ever been able to prove she hadn't acted on her own free will. Mr. Malfoy said nothing. His face was suddenly mask-like. And imagine, Dumbledore went on, what might have happened then. The Weasleys, one of our most prominent pure-blood families. Imagine the effect on Arthur Weasley and his Muggle Protection Act, if his own daughter was discovered attacking and killing Muggleborns. Very fortunate the diary was discovered. and Riddle's memories wiped from it. Who knows the consequences that might have been otherwise? Mr. Malfoy forced himself to speak. Very fortunate, he said stiffly. And still, behind his back, Dobby was pointing, first to the diary, then to Lucius Malfoy, then punching himself in the head. And Harry suddenly understood. Harry, you didn't get it the first time. Damn, I got it. He nodded at Dobby and then backed into a corner, not twisting his ears in punishment. Don't you know how Ginny got hold of the diary, Mr. Malfoy? Said Harry. Lucius Malfoy rounded on him. How should I know how a stupid little girl got a hold of it, he said. Because you gave it to her, said Harry. In flourishing blots, you picked up her old Transfiguration book and slipped the diary inside it, didn't you? He saw Mr. Malfoy's white hands clench and unclench. Prove it, he hissed. Oh, no one will be able to do that, said Dumbledore, smiling at Harry. Not that Riddle has vanished from the book. On the other hand, I would advise you, Lucius, not to go giving out any more of Lord Voldemort's old school things. If any more of them find their way into innocent hands, I think Arthur Weasley, for one, will make sure they are traced back to you. Lucius Malfoy stood for a moment, and Harry distinctly saw his right hand twitch as though he was longing to reach for his wand. Instead, he turned to his house elf. We're going, Dobby! Malfoy is pissed. He wrenched open the door as the elf came hurrying up to him. He kicked him right through it. They could hear Dobby squealing in pain all the way along the corridor. Harry stood for a moment thinking hard. Then it came to him. Professor Dumbledore, he said hurriedly. Can I give that diary back to Mr. Malfoy, please? Certainly, Harry, said Dumbledore calmly. But hurry, the feast, remember? Harry grabbed the diary and dashed out of the office. He could hear Dobby's squeals of pain receding around the corner. Quickly, wondering if this plan could possibly work, Harry took off one of his shoes and pulled off his slimy, filthy sock and stuffed it into the diary. He then ran down the dark corridor. He caught up with them at the top of the stairs. Mr. Malfoy, he gasped, skidding to a halt. I've got something for you. And he forced the smelly sock into Lucius Malfoy's hand. What the... Mr. Malfoy ripped the sock off the diary, threw it aside, and then looked furiously from the ruined book to Harry. You'll meet the same sticky end if... This is a very disrespectful sentence. You'll meet the same sticky end as your parents one of these days, Harry Potter, he said softly. They were meddlesome fools, too. He turned to go. Come on, Dobby. I said come! But Dobby didn't move. He was holding up Harry's disgusting, slimy sock and looking at it as though it was a priceless treasure. Master has given us sock, said the elf in wonderment. Master gave it to Dobby. What's that? Spat Mr. Malfoy. What did you say? Got a sock, said Dobby in disbelief. Master threw it, and Dobby caught it, and Dobby is free. Lucius Malfoy stood frozen, staring at the elf. Then he lunged at Harry. You've lost me, my servant boy! But Dobby shouted, You shall not harm Harry Potter! There was a loud bang, and Mr. Malfoy was thrown backward. He crashed down the stairs 3 at a time. Oh, this was way more dramatic in the book. This nigga fell down the stairs, landing in a crumpled heap on the landing below. He got up, his face livid, and pulled out his wand, but Dobby raised a long, threatening finger. You shall go now, he said, fiercely pointing down at Mr. Malfoy. You shall not touch Harry Potter. You shall go now. Lucius Malfoy had no choice. With a last incensed stare at the pair of them, he swung his cloak around him and hurried out of sight. Harry Potter freed Dobby, said the elf shrilly, gazing up at Harry. Moonlight from the nearest window reflected in his orb-like eyes. Harry Potter set Dobby free. Least I could do, Dobby, said Harry, grinning. Just promise never try to save my life again. The elf's ugly brown face split suddenly into a wide, toothy smile. I've just got one question, Dobby, said Harry as Dobby pulled on Harry's sock with shaking hands. You told me all this had nothing to do with he who must not be named, remember? Well, it was a clue, sir, said Dobby, his eyes widening as though this was obvious. Was giving you a clue. The Dark Lord, before he changed his name, could be freely named, you see. Right, said Harry weakly. Well, I better go. There's a feast, and my friend Hermione should be awake by now. Dobby threw his arms around Harry's middle and hugged him. Harry Potter is greater by far than Dobby knew, he sobbed. Farewell, Harry Potter. And with a final loud crack, Dobby disappeared. Ah! Look at God. Okay. Harry had been to several Hogwarts feasts, but never one quite like this. Everybody was in their pajamas, and the celebration lasted all night. Harry didn't know whether the best bit was Hermione running towards him screaming, You solved it! You solved it! Or Justin hurrying over from the Hufflepuff table to wring his hand and apologize for endlessly suspecting him. Or Hagrid! Ah! Or Hagrid turning up at 3:30, cuffing Harry and Ron so hard on the shoulders that they were knocked onto their plates of trifle. Or his and Ron's 400 points for Gryffindor securing the house cup for the second year running. Or Professor McGonagall standing up to them at the exams that had been canceled at the school treat. As a school treat. Oh no, said Hermione. Or Dumbledore announcing that unfortunately Professor Lockhart would be unable to return next year, owing to the fact that he needed to go away to get his memory back. Quite a few of the teachers joined in the cheering and greeted news. Shame, said Ron, helping himself to a jam donut. He was starting to grow on me. The rest of the final term passed in a haze of blazing sunshine. Hogwarts was back to normal with only a few small differences. Defense against the dark arts classes were canceled, but we've got plenty of practice at that anyway, Ron told a disgruntled Hermione. And Lucius Malfoy had been sacked as school governor. Draco was no longer strutting around the school as though he'd owned the place. On the contrary, he looked resentful and sulky. On the other hand, Ginny Weasley was perfectly happy again. Too soon. It was time for the journey home on the Hogwarts Express. Harry, Ron, Hermione, Fred, George, and Ginny got a compartment to themselves. Okay, the gang's all here! They made the most of the last few hours in which they were allowed to do magic before the holidays. They played Exploding Snap, set off the very last of Fred and George's filibuster fireworks, and practiced disarming each other by magic. Harry was getting very good at it. They were almost at King's Cross when Harry remembered something. Ginny, what did you see Percy doing that he didn't want you to tell me? Oh, that, Ginny said, giggling. Well, Percy's got a girlfriend. Oh! Fred dropped the stack of books on George's head. What? It's that Ravenclaw prefect Penelope Clearwater, said Ginny. I fucking told y'all that. I don't know what chapter that was. I told y'all, Percy, and I fucking told y'all. Now that I didn't see coming in the book, I didn't know that was going to come back around. But I told y'all Percy liked that girl. That's who he was writing to all last summer. He's been meeting her all over the school in secret. I walked in on them kissing in an empty classroom one day. He was so upset when she was, attacked. You won't tease him again, will you? She added anxiously. Wouldn't dream of it, said Fred, who was looking like his birthday had come early. Definitely not, said George, snickering. The Hogwarts Express slowed and finally stopped. Harry pulled up his quill and a bit of parchment and turned to Ron and Hermione. This is called a telephone number, he told Ron, scribbling it twice. Oh, yeah, because they're not Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Tearing the parchment in two and handing it to them. I told your dad how to use a telephone last summer. He'll know. Call me at the Dursleys, okay? I can't stand another 2 months with only Dudley to talk to. Your aunt and uncle won't prod, though. Your aunt and uncle will prod, though, won't they? Said Hermione as they got off the train and joined the crowd thronging along the enchanted barrier. When they hear what you did this year? Proud, said Harry. Are you crazy? All those times I could have died and I didn't manage it? They'll be furious. And together they walked back through the gateway to the Muggle world. Ah! That's the end! But it's a little something on this back page, so let's read it. Oh, that said this book was edited. Okay. This book was edited by Arthur Levine and directed by David Saylor. The art for both the jacket and interior was created using pastels on a toned printmaking paper. The text was set in 12-point Adobe Garamond, a typeface based on the 16th century type designs of Claude Garamond, redrawn by Robert Slimbatch in 1989. The production was supervised by Angela Biola. And that folks, 2 hours and 5 minutes later was Harry Potter in the motherfucking Chamber of Secrets. Better than the movie. I told y'all, that's crazy. I'm one of these people. So the Sorcerer's Stone, the Philosopher's Stone, whatever, I like better than the movie. And now the second book, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, I like it better than the movie. We 2-2 with the books so far, y'all. We 2-2 so far. And yeah, tune in to the book club next week where we will start the third book. The third movie is my favorite, Prisoner of Azkaban. So I'm assuming the third movie is The Prisoner of Azkaban. I don't need my bookmark this week. Y'all, I feel like I really just reached a milestone. I am so happy. I love these books. It's not like I completed Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.